Okay, so I think I have finally figured out why we struggle so much with overconsumption and overgifting, especially around the holidays. But this can apply to any time that you want to celebrate your child birthdays or Valentine's Day or any kind of holiday. I think it's not what I initially thought. I've spent a lot of time thinking about this, and as someone who tries to be more minimalist and has made many videos on the topic, and who proclaims that decluttering is my love language, I think I figured it out. It's not what you think. Before we get into the video, thank you so much for being here. My name is Julie. I'm an occupational therapist and I have 3 young kids, and we are approaching that holiday time again. And like you, I am trying to be more thoughtful about how I approach this holiday season. Last year, I went a little overboard. I was overexcited, I would say. We just moved into our house and finished renovating, so this was going to be our first real Christmas. And my sister was coming with her family. It was all very exciting. And I feel like I went a little nuts. I justified this because I bought gifts from Goodwill and I thrifted some things, but honestly, I still went overboard and I didn't feel good afterwards. I found that there is such a thing as too many gifts. There was too many gifts to open for my children. I always thought that more was more, and the more you wrapped up, the better Christmas would be. But I'm beginning to realize that there is a threshold where they become overwhelmed, and it's honestly so much more work that you now have to deal with all of the things. And I'm a little ashamed of myself because I go around saying how we need less things and we shouldn't overconsume and we shouldn't buy so much, and this is how you declutter your home. And I spend a lot of time with my clients as a parent coach, helping them through this process. And here I was falling for all the predictable traps. Like, I should have known better. And so in this video, I really want to examine a bit of the psychology around gift giving and why I think we fall short as a society, things that I do to help me with this kind of thing, and some just general tips around gifting and buying less over this holiday season in a way that I hope it will help you. I hope this video will help you as well and help you rethink how we go about gifting around the holiday time. It's not enough, I have found, to just have the intention of giving your kids less. That's a great idea and goal, but it's kind of like going into a diet or something and just saying, I'm just going to eat less. I'm just going to rely on willpower to not consume what I don't want to. It's kind of the same with gifts. The key thing that I really realized when it came to giving gifts was that I was getting something out of it. I was getting that little spark or that little kick of dopamine that you get when you give someone something that you think they will enjoy. This is what I think this is why I think people love to give kids candy. Like, they know that candy is not good for children. Have you ever had this happen to you where grandparents are like, can I give them an ice cream? Or I don't know. I had this happen to me in a grocery store. I remember we were in a national park. We were in Yellowstone and we were in one of the little, there's one grocery store in the park. So we were in the grocery store and this older gentleman came up to us. So I'm with my kids and he was like, can I give them a lollipop? And I know on the surface that sounds dodgy, right? But he wasn't being inappropriate. It's just kind of a cultural thing that, well, at least I didn't get those vibes. It's a thing that we do. We want to give kids candy. And I'm like, why? Why? We're not eating the candy. So we got to be getting something out of it, that we go out of our way to go and offer children sweets. And I think it's this anticipatory idea of when you give someone something you think they will like, it gives you that good feeling, that dopamine kick. And I was finding the same thing is happening with gifts because you know your children well, you kind of know what they will enjoy, but we don't think past those 5 minutes of engaging with a toy and then them just running off and discarding it. We think about the kick we're going to get when we give them that toy or that gift. And I realized the gift giving is not so much about them, but it's about me. And so one of the things that I'm trying to do to mitigate this is to not necessarily buy all of their presents in October, right? Which is more my nature, to really plan ahead and buy things early. Because what happens is, as we get closer to the holidays, I don't know about you, but my inbox full of marketing emails from companies that I haven't thought about the whole year, but somehow they have my email address and they're sending me all these ideas. And even though I never would have thought of that product, marketing is very powerful, right? They're very good at what they do. And suddenly I'm like, maybe my daughter does need new this, or maybe she could have another jacket, or, she's already got 3 pink tracksuit tops, sweatshirts. This is so cute. What's one more? So as you get closer to the holidays and like Thanksgiving, Black Friday, all of the sales, you justify in your mind that this is a great deal. And now you overspend, you overbuy them gifts because I've already bought them things that I think they need for Christmas time. I've been saving this, like maybe it's a new bike, or maybe it's a basketball, or maybe it's books that you think they would like. But then you get ideas in your head from all the environment and social media, and you're like, oh, they could also have this, and there's an endless amount of things that the gift guides tell us we need for our kids, right? And so I was falling into the trap where I was already organized. My children had more than enough already, and I'm still going out and buying more things closer to Christmas. So knowing that that's going to happen, I am not going to rush to buy them anything unless it's something I absolutely know that they need. And I feel like this year we're trying to be more budget conscious. Our children have everything that they need. Sure, they want things always. We all want things. And there's an unlimited amount of wants, I guess. But I've learned from last year when I went overboard from what I usually do that it doesn't really work out. Like I bought a lot of board games for them as an example because I thought it'd be good to add to our collection. And they've played half of them or so. I might hang on to them for a bit longer because they are nice. As kids get older, not all board games are going to appeal at the time that you buy it for them. But there's just things that I'm like, they haven't even really paid any attention to this, So I'm going to save my big Christmas gifts, or I'm just going to see what happens until we get closer to Christmas time, so that if I have this urge to want to spoil them because I love them and I know they will have a great time with this stuff, I can kind of keep a little bit of that in reserve. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that's why we're getting into the overspending and overconsumption, is because it makes us feel good to click and buy and click and then use Christmas as an excuse. And at the end of the day, like, it's so arbitrary in a way that we're just suddenly showering our children with all of these gifts in the name of Christmas, which is not really what Christmas was designed for, why we celebrate it as someone who is a Christian, or if we celebrate for religious reasons. It's not really, we know it's not about the gifts, but we use that as the excuse to kind of go wild with our shopping. And what ends up happening is that our wallets suffer for sure. We overspend. Americans are in a lot of debt, and the world. And we just left to maintain and look after these gifts and clean them up and manage them. And then you spend the whole of the rest of the next year decluttering all of your things. So I'm trying to stop that a little bit because we got to stop it at the source. Some other things that I do that really help me kind of control shopping urges or whatever, and I wouldn't even say I have a problem with this, but if there's something that I think that my kids would benefit from, I'm going to put that in my Amazon cart or make a list. Amazon's just the easiest because I know I can search for it even if I don't end up buying it on Amazon, and put it in my save for later, and then it's all there and you can see the price dropping if you really want to, but it means that I don't have to worry about it. So the other reason that I felt like Christmas last year in terms of gifts was a bit of a bust was that I was buying things unnecessarily, and it was almost because they didn't need anything. I was just buying surplus of things. And it's because we buy our children things all year long. And so there's not as much to kind of save up for Christmas in terms of things that they will actually use. So I'm making a really conscious effort, and I should have thought of this earlier, but I'm going to be better about this come January. But I'm making a conscious effort now, even in November, when I know there are certain things that I could buy for my children, that we're going to save them for Christmas. And we're going to work on things that they're actually going to use. If you look at more intentional minimalist gift guides and influencers online, you will see that they are trying to, propose the idea of experiences, consumables, food, candy, things that you use up. And I think this is great. And I plan to do some of this as well. But experiences also cost a lot of money. So it depends. If you're trying to save money, they can be very expensive. I looked at a gingerbread house decorating workshop, and it was $70 per child. What? Like, these kinds of things add up really quickly, and think how you could use that money in a more effective way to save for a family trip, or I don't know, towards college or something. I just feel like we also can fall in the experience trap. Yes, we don't physically necessarily take something back with us, but these things also add up really quickly. So rather, I'm trying to save on the idea of always giving my kids things as they need them. and start collecting a list of things that I could give to them for Christmas, because I was almost overcompensating for the fact that they didn't really need anything. So I'm like, what should I get them for Christmas? I don't know. So then you just go and start looking for things to buy, which you never would have had the inclination to do had you had concrete, usable, functional things that you could get your kids. So for example, I have a 4-year-old and all she does all day is draw and color, which is wonderful, but she steals all of our printing paper. If you know, you know. And unfortunately, it's like at the perfect height for her. And she doesn't want to use the coloring books that we buy for her or that she has. Maybe they're a little bit tired now. They're nearly done. We've got a few more pages to color. Fine. But I am going to buy her a ream of cheap printing paper that she can have as her own, and they can use that so they stop stealing our printing paper. So when we actually need to print something and the printer can only take a certain type of paper, it isn't all gone. That kind of thing. I feel like that is a consumable, useful thing that I would end up buying anyway. Things like socks or underwear or certain clothes that they might need. If you know that you can buy those for Christmas and you won't need to buy them for the rest of the year, just do it then. If you have this urge to fill the Christmas tree up with a lot of gifts, or you feel the cultural expectation to do that, or you think your kids are going to want a lot of gifts, I find it's not always necessary. You probably could get away with fewer gifts, but if you want it for the aesthetics, or you feel like it's not Christmas if you don't have gifts, make those gifts count. Don't buy them junk that they're never going to use again. And it's so easy to fall into that trap. I have way too many times, and that's why I'm telling you this from experience. I'm trying to save you money and time and sanity. Just be thoughtful about what you get them and stop giving them gifts all year round. And save those for birthdays and Christmas. And, obviously there are going to be certain times of the year when your kids need something. Like you realize their winter jacket is way too small and you're going on a ski holiday, you have to buy it for them. There's obviously going to be times like that. But if that is more the exception, you will actually have meaningful, useful gifts to give them for Christmas. And also keep in mind that you are framing their experience of the holiday time. And they're going to grow up and have their own families, and they're going to use a lot of what they learn in their nuclear family. They're going to pull from that to create traditions for their families. So you're actually saving a lot of generations if you are thoughtful now about how you treat your children, how you spoil them, how you give gifts in your family. My daughter recently had a birthday, and I was super intentional about what we got her for presents. And as it turned out, she was turning 8. It just worked out this way that I had wrapped up 8 presents, which they all counted. But it was the perfect number for her to not feel overwhelmed and to feel like she got what she asked for. She just basically wanted Lego and one specific book. We got that, and then a couple of other things. Like I got her some pretty earrings. We got her some hair ties, nothing crazy. And she was so satisfied with that. And I feel like it's bringing down this threshold of this desire to want a lot of presents. We have been working very hard in our family to try and disassociate the fact that Christmas is only about gifts. And it's so easy to fall into that trap. The kids just associate Christmas time and presents and not really what the holiday is about. And so I'm working really hard on my language as they get older to talk about family getting together, and we have time off from school and we can just hang out. And it's not just, I don't even necessarily bring up the word gifts. It's more about emphasizing what the other things are about the holiday. So I feel like that has been helpful. The other thing I would say to you guys, if you have younger kids, let's start with a 1-year-old. Do not buy a 1-year-old anything for Christmas unless they really need it. And you probably don't have to save it for Christmas specifically. They don't care. If anyone out there has had a 1-year-old or even probably a 2-year-old, they do not care. You can buy them a cardboard box or use one of your cardboard boxes that your other groceries or deliveries have come in and wrap it up. That's all they want. They don't care. They don't know. Use this time wisely and save yourself time over those early years of not wasting your money on senseless junk. You don't need to. I recognize this when my son turned 1, my first child. I was like, oh, I should have just bought him some. I didn't even need to buy him some wrapping paper. I could have just got some craft paper, some, extra paper, a box. He would have been so happy with that. Give him a wooden spoon. absolutely thrilled. They don't know about the concept of gift giving. And if you do have kids in this age, you're at a golden opportunity to set the tone for how things go as they age. I have a 4-year-old now, as I said, and I'm going to get her paper. I might get her a hair clip because she could use that. I'm debating if I'm going to buy her some new shoes if she really needs them or not, because we have a lot and we have hand-me-downs, but she doesn't really need a lot, and the sooner that we kind of put that into her brain that we just get a couple of gifts each, the better. They play with things so much better when there's fewer of them. Let me tell you, they get incredibly overwhelmed with the amount of gifts. And then you tie that in with all the paper and the wrapping. And then if you have family or friends celebrating with you, then there's extra people bringing gifts. It's so much. I know that I used to just I knew that my sister and my parents would give my kids a gift for their birthday or for Christmas. So I knew they were going to get at least 2 things. I would give them something. Maybe a friend or 2 would give them something. That's enough. That's more than enough. Because every time you're bringing in new toys and stuff into your house, you still have the same amount of space to give that stuff, and you still have to manage all of it. And as like busy moms and busy people, that's like one of the number one things that I hear is overwhelming, is that people's environments are swallowing them up whole because they just have so much crap that they now need to deal with. And that's not what the holidays are supposed to be about. They're supposed to be about regenerating, resetting, spending time together and not being overwhelmed by keeping things clean and not breaking something. And where's this thing going to go? And we're going to trip on this. Like I told a client this recently, but I had this aha moment. My kids were probably like 4 and 2 at the time, the 2 older ones, and we'd come back from a birthday party, and when you come back from a birthday party, they have all this stuff in a little goodie bag. Don't get me started on goodie bags. And there was some like Lego or some plastic toy, and I stepped on it. I remember this. In New York, I stepped on it with bare feet. It was so painful, but it wasn't just painful physically, which it was very painful. It was mentally and emotionally painful because I was just like, now I have to deal with this. Where there's one of these, there's more of these. This is an ongoing thing. And it just it was a watershed moment for me. It made me think like, I need to do this differently. I need to be more intentional about this. I need to be stricter about things coming into my home and getting rid of things. But at the end of the day, the decluttering is kind of a cop-out if you're just bringing more things into your home and you're not dealing with the source. And so I hope that this video has given you something to think about. Think about how gift giving gives you the dopamine hit more than it even gives your kids, and what that dopamine hit is worth for you, and how you can retrain your mind. I'll end on this. I remember also getting into the same kind of mode where my kids would kind of expect something every day. And I'm kind of ashamed to even think this, but in a world where, or to say this out loud, in a world where you order something and it arrives the next day, they were getting so conditioned to having an Amazon box arrive at our house every day or every other day, to the point where they think they're getting a present, even if it's not a present, even if it's like toilet paper, every single day. And I became accustomed to that too, where I would like look outside and see if there's see if there was a box, which it's not a gift because someone else didn't buy that. I bought that for myself, for my house. But do I need an extra soap dish or, I don't know, an extra mug, a cute throw pillow? Do I need these things? No. Will I probably want to get rid of them in a year or 2? Yes. Is that incredibly wasteful? 100%. It's shameful. And so I'm trying really hard to identify these patterns in myself so that I can kind of stop this. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to make retail mistakes. Of course, we all do. We buy something that we like and then, it doesn't fit us in a couple of years, or it falls apart, or it's just like not our style anymore. You're allowed to make mistakes and learn and grow. But the point is that you do something positive with those experiences. You don't just repeat the same things. So a lot to think about. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'm wishing you a really happy and joyful festive season. It's not about the presents. Trust me, no one remembers the gifts, really. It's about the experiences and the feeling that you curate with your family. So I hope that you get to spend time with your loved ones over this festive time, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.